I'm all for it.
We could just call the meeting to order and go ahead.
6:30.
$20 a minute, that's what they get. He's pulling in.
It's Kermie's fine.
Oh, John, I just realized. Like,
Yeah.
Where's the seat over there?
Oh, you see him coming in?
Got the 100% record.
I know, it's a, let's call this
What now?
meeting to order, so
They're
in case
having
he's
a
late.
60s peace and love party
Can't
at the
claim
senior center. It
100%.
says, get your groove on. Do you remember those days?
I can't remember. My groove is gone.
I was too young to have groove at that point,
There you go.
Comes somebody,
although I'm sure it's going to come back.
Kermie.
Yeah.
Sorry. Got a plan for traffic now. Sandy, this is yours.
Thank you.
So John is sick
Oh,
today.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, he'll be excused.
He asked for an excused absence.
All right. Charter Township of Plymouth Regular Board of Trustees meeting Tuesday, June 10th, called to order at 6:34 PM. Roll call.
Clerk Borba, here. Trustee Stewart, excused. Trustee Groth.
Present?
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Here.
Supervisor Kermie.
Here.
Trustee Clinton.
Here.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're going to have a badge pinning ceremony for two new firefighters that have come off their 1 year of probation. Vince Amatalo, how do you pronounce it?
Amatagelo?
Amatagelo and,
I was missed the end, sorry, Vince.
and Molly Fondau. They're both here? All right.
Yep, we're both here.
So, go ahead, chief.
Vince and Molly, come up. Right here. Good evening, board. We said we're here to officially declare their probations over. We have a little different tradition in the fire service than our brethren on the police side do. We earn our badge through probation. They have to be given their badge day one because it's a symbol of their authority. So we just do a little bit differently. That's why we kind of do it this way. Vince and Molly both are joined by their families here tonight. Vince's fiance, Sabrina, will be doing his badge pinning. And then Molly's uncle, Chris Fondo, actually Lieutenant with Livonia FD, will be doing hers. If I direct your eyes to the screen here, we have a little bit of... So today we recognize the completion of Vince Amatagelo and Molly Fondo's probation with this badge pinning ceremony. The fire service is full of tradition. It is important to honor past traditions. These traditions tie us to 1.2 million U.S. firefighters from 27,000 fire departments throughout the country. To understand the importance of this badge pinning ceremony, it is important to understand not only the history of the fire service, but the history and significance of the badge itself. The first firefighters were the corps de vigils in Rome in 6 AD. This was 6,000 free men who would patrol the streets of Rome looking for fires and would respond to prevent conflagration. During the Crusades, the Knights of St. John's took it upon themselves to rescue crusaders from fire that was used as a weapon. Knights of St. John's ultimately settled on Malta, where they adopted a new crest, the Maltese Cross, which is the basis of our fire badge. The modern U.S. Fire Service dates back to 1736 when Benjamin Franklin founded the first volunteer fire department. These firefighters would patrol the streets and light the street lamps as they began their patrols to protect the communities. The firefighter's badge has a lot of significant symbolism to it. First of all, the Maltese Cross pays honor to the men and women who, on their own initiative, risk their lives to protect others. The scramble, or the tools of the trade, that's what's in the center, has 5 important elements. The ladder, it's used to rescue trapped documents. It reminds us of the moral responsibility to rescue those in need. The pike pole, which is the pole that goes up to the right there with the hook on the end of it, is used to bring down walls and open up buildings. It reminds us of our duty to stop the spread of fire, not just after the first flames, but also in our fire prevention efforts. The nozzle, this is the medium through which water is applied. Reminds us of our obligation to act with urgency when responding to the needs of others. The bugle, once used to communicate with those by officers to those under their charge, reminds us that we act under the authority of officers trained in technical and leadership abilities. Finally, the staff with the ball mounted on its end. It was used by firefighters in the past to light the street lamps as they began their tour protecting their communities. This signifies the vigilance we have, not only protecting the public, but our fellow firefighters and ourselves as well. Firefighter Amatagelo and Fondo. The badge that will be placed on your chest is a symbol of authority. It serves as a reminder that although you have achieved a higher level of authority by completing probation, you've also been given a higher level of responsibility. It is a reminder to forever value the trust that the community and your fellow firefighters place in you and the responsibility you have to guard their safety. Sabrina and Chris, if you come up, please. We'll have Sabrina go first. You haven't made her mad in the last 24 hours or so.
No,
Okay, good.
not that bad.
Picture.
It's not easy. It's hard enough to do it on when you're not on you. Chris, if you do the honors. Should just put Velcro on them and make it a lot easier.
You're probably going to start being late for work because it takes some extra time to
Right?
put those things on.
Yeah, right? All right. Chris, I don't know if you all want to get a picture of the certificates. All right. Thank you, board.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you for being here. Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell him later, I guess. All right. So that. Thank you. The next item, we have Heather Picacho.
Well, we get approval of the agenda.
Well, I thought I was going to add it in here for presentations, or?
Oh,
Or,
we got to approve the agenda first.
okay, we'll approve the agenda first. All right.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, June 10th, 2025.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, so.
Now we need the approval of the consent
Consent
agenda.
agenda, okay.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. And this will, because we have a resolution for Jessica, will require a roll vote.
Does this include any questions on the bills? Because I do have.
Yeah, this is the time to bring them up.
This is the time to do
Yeah.
it. Okay, I noticed on the list of bills in the last meeting, when I had to review them, and this meeting, that we are paying money to CAT Consulting for the playscape? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
I have somebody that's,
Can you tell us what they're doing exactly?
they're getting a bill of materials ready, and we used it today, because we're going to ask for a grant from the county for our, it's not a grant, it's our Parks Millage. So we did an assessment and getting parts ordered, or not ordered, getting quotes.
Does the assessment include all the safety concerns and issues?
It will,
and all
it
of
already
that
has.
stuff?
Well, we already had that, but we're going to continue more.
And all that stuff is going to be in writing so that we have a
Yep.
record? Okay.
Spalding to Decker will coordinate the submission to Wayne County for parks. So that was a preliminary, get some things together, attempt to assess what's really going on there. So now it's made it very easy for Spalding to Decker to prepare the document. We started today.
And does this company do they specialize in?
No. This is a resident who has some coordination skills,
Oh.
who's a degreed engineer.
Okay, I moved, and did we have a second?
John Stewart reviewed the bills today.
I can do second.
Yes. Growth. Okay, okay, trustee Buckley,
Yes.
trustee Clinton,
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy,
Yes.
treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Growth,
Yes.
clerk Vorba, yes, motion carries. And now you can we do the swearing in.
Well, we need to, Heather is here. Well, we can do that later. Okay, let's do the swearing in and introduction of Jessica Narian, who will be our Environmental Leadership Commission next member.
Jessica, I read your resume and all of your background, and it looks like you're well qualified, and it'll be nice to have you on board.
You know that I saw you're an actuary. I'm an actuary. You're from Michigan. I'm from Michigan. What year did you graduate?
2014.
Yeah, I didn't do that.
That was the horse and buggy. Please raise your right hand, Jessica, and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the laws, ordinances, and policies of the Charter Township of Plymouth. I will faithfully perform the duties of Environmental Leadership Commission for the Charter Township of Plymouth, Michigan. Being ever mindful that my service is a reflection on the Township of Plymouth. And I will discharge these duties to the best of my abilities. So help me God. Commissioner, congratulations. And I give you signature. That's for you. This is for you. You can sign that. And you can post that prominently with your degree from Michigan, because this is very important.
That's second best.
Thank you again, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go blue.
Go green.
Go blue.
Well, I do want to call your attention to the reports. Do take a look at them. There's a lot of useful information in there. The executive summaries provide a little snapshot. The fire department report is in here. You can see still, we are giving much more mutual aid than we are receiving, taking care of our neighbors. Next item is public comment on non-agenda items. You have 3 minutes, and we also have somebody here who is asked to speak from the library, Heather, and she will go first. She's the community relations specialist for the public library, and give us a little preview of what they're doing this summer and some other things.
Thanks for that. Pacheco is my last name. I
Pacheco.
know that's tricky, but I answered anything close. So we just wanted to make sure you and the community is aware that it's summer reading time at the library, which is a really big time for us. So community can sign up, adults, kids, teens, all ages, summer reading program. And it's been growing year after year. So sign up is open now. We're asking everybody to read 60 minutes a week or whatever parents think is the right amount of time for their children based on what reading age and what level they're at. And then you come each week and check in, and we are really blessed to be sponsored by lots of local businesses. So each week when everyone checks in, they'll get a coupon or a voucher or a discount from a local business. So we're really grateful for those sponsorships. And we have a great agenda of events this summer for all ages. We're doing hammock hangouts in the Wilcox Amphitheater. The township has allowed us to do a puppet program at McClumpha Park, at Township Park. So we're looking forward to that on Saturday, June 27th, Puppets in the Park. We're gonna have a Juneteenth celebration and live music for the kids next Saturday. Tomorrow is our big kickoff for the summer with lots of fun planned for teens and separately for youth with face painting, balloons, and lots of fun stuff. So we would encourage everybody to take advantage of the program. And we also want to mention that we are in search of creative, STEM-oriented people who might want to create a game for our big maker event this summer, which is a cardboard carnival. So if you know anybody who wants to get hands-on with a friend, with a kid, on their own and make a cardboard arcade game for that July event, you can sign up on our event calendar. So we really encourage everybody to go to plymouthlibrary.org and check out the event calendar and come join us for summer reading. And I'll leave, there's some information about the puppet program and about the summer reading program. I'll leave them back by the door there for anybody who wants to grab one. So thanks for always being supportive of the library.
Question for you. Do you know who's responsible for the parking lot, for the condition of the parking lot?
That is a $1 million question. That has been in discussion for decades, and it still is not resolved. I know that our director is in communication with Paul Sincock and the folks in the city. My understanding is that there was a handshake deal many decades ago that never got solidified. So we've been through a couple directors now trying to resolve that question, and it's still trying to be resolved. And I would encourage you to reach out to Shauna Anderson, who is our director, if you need more information about that. She'd be happy to talk with you about it, I'm sure.
Well, I'd like to encourage you to consider that as one of your capital projects.
I would really refer you to talk to Shauna about it because I'm not in a position to speak publicly about the back and forth about that discussion. But it's an important one, and like I say, I know it's an ongoing discussion that we would love to see resolved, and I'm sure
It's decades
everybody who
ongoing.
drives that parking lot would love to see resolved as well. Yeah. Is there any other questions I can try to answer for you?
Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Any other non-agenda item speakers? No? Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I wanted to say this before we approve the consent agenda. I wanted to offer the board's congratulations and appreciation to Plymouth Township PD's Task Force Officer Caitlin Nicely on the DEA seizures, and congratulate Detective Brad Vaughn on his graduation from Western Wayne Special Ops SWAT School.
Thank you. Both of those in my eyes are significant. That's why I put them on the report.
Yes.
Task Force Officer Nicely continues. I meet with her group supervisor every other month, and he continues to tell me that she is the top task force officer in his group. So she's doing a great job. Officer Vaughn is one of our detectives, and he is now trained in the Special Operations Team, which is, again, a significant asset for us. So thank you.
Please express our acknowledgement of their,
I will absolutely pass it on.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right, let's move on to new business, which is the 2024 audit presentation. This will be given by Allie Barnes from Yo and Yo. And let's see, what do we want to put on the screen, Allie?
I think they have the presentation.
Yeah, do you want the PowerPoint?
Either, yeah, yeah, that'll work. I don't know if you can make the page a little smaller so it all fits on one, but it might work out okay if we scroll. That's good. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Allie Barnes. I'm the principal on your annual financial statement audit. So our firm comes in and performs many procedures in order to issue an opinion on your financial statements. So the purpose really is for us to look within your transactions and within your control structure to determine if what's being presented both internally and public facing is accurate and follows the accounting rules that you are prescribed to. So this is the highest level of assurance we can give you about your financial statements. And this year, the township received an unmodified or clean audit opinion. So that's the one that you want. I always like to give a couple of reminders about the financial statements. First off, they are really your management team's responsibility. While we do help as a clerical function in actually putting them together, they really are the ones responsible for accumulating all the information throughout the year, properly recording transactions, and then making sure what we assemble at the end of the year is correct to come to you. And then our only responsibility is to issue that opinion on those statements. So we're not coming up with the numbers in there. That's all on your team. And they do a really fine job. They're a great team to work with, very well prepared, one of my most well prepared clients, and really appreciate what they do. If you want to go to the next page. We're going to talk kind of high level here first about the general fund, then we'll get into some water and sewer information, talk about internal controls, and then kind of wrap up with just some board governance items. So here you have your general fund revenues for the past 5 fiscal years by major category. So you can just kind of see in a trend what things are looking like. Property taxes, obviously the most significant component of your revenue. Trending upwards. Intergovernmental has held relatively flat, decreased just slightly this year, but nothing concerning. Charges for services had a slight uptick. Licenses and permits really is dependent on the building activity, primarily that's happening within the township. If there are a lot of projects in one year, sometimes that spikes up, and then maybe the next year it levels out a little bit. And then we kind of have everything else. So for 2024, your general fund had total revenue of $20.9 million. And this was up just slightly from the previous year where the total was $20.3 million. If you go to the next page, it's going to be general fund expenditures. Again, so you can see over the past 5 years where you're sitting at. So total expenditures for 2024 came in at $21.4 million. The most significant category of spending being public safety came in at about just shy of 14.7 million. You will see that public safety did increase during 2024. a combination of wage increases, which then affects payroll taxes and pension contributions. And then there was also some capital outlay in both the police and the fire departments that caused that increase. So overall, doing quite well with spending. Overall, you were up from the previous year, but I think you're really, you're focusing on those aspects of the township that are important that the board has approved in the budget. The next page is general funds fund balance. So at the end of the year, we take all of the revenues and subtract all of the expenditures from that to see, did we add to fund balance or did we use up some fund balance? So you can see for the past 4 fiscal years, the kind of teal bar there was higher than the tan bar, indicating that there was an addition to total fund balance. You'll note for 2024 that the tan bar slightly exceeds that teal bar, indicating that general fund actually used some fund balance. So for 2024, the use of fund balance was about $470,000. This was actually less than you had budgeted to use, so you were within your budget parameters. And that means that total fund balance came down to about $9 million. And of that, we have unassigned fund balance of about $5.4 million. On the next page, we're going to see kind of the components of that total fund balance other than the unassigned portion. So the unassigned is going to be the bottom of this bar chart. The next tan portion up there is going to be your committed fund balance. So through board action, you can decide that you are going to specifically set aside some of your fund balance for a particular purpose. And in this case, in 2023, there was about 1.8 million set aside for capital improvement projects. And then that was reduced in 2024 down to 600,000. So that accounts for that change there. The portion that is in orange is your restricted fund balance. So these are external restrictions, meaning you can only use dollars for particular purposes. That makes up about 2.5 million of fund balance, and it's comprised of construction code money and PEG fees. And then the last portion there of any significance is just your non-spendable, about $500,000 there, and that's just items where cash actually went out the door to pay for something that isn't going to be an expenditure until the next fiscal year. So it's a timing kind of category. Moving on to water and sewer. Here you have the operating revenue and expenses for the past few years. So we do like to see operating revenue exceeding operating expenses. That tells us that you're at least on track to have sufficient funds in this fund. There's more to it than that, but your water and sewer fund in particular is quite healthy. So you had about $13.5 million in revenues versus about $12.9 million in operating expenses. So overall, this fund had an increase in unrestricted net position along with working capital. So the top line across there is the total unrestricted net position, which is about $25 million. We do back out, there's a component that is an investment in Watua, which is the utility authority that you're part of. So we do back that out of the total for you. And then your working capital is about $22 million. And that working capital would be if you took all of your current assets, cash, receivables, prepaids, inventory, and reduced that by your current obligations. That's kind of what you're left over with to have to work on items in the upcoming year. All right, changing gears, we're going to talk about a couple long-term liabilities for the township, the first being the pension liability. So a couple pieces of information here. What's in teal is what's called your fiduciary net position, or essentially the assets that have been set aside in trust to pay for pension obligations. So for 2024, that came in at $29.2 million. The tan bar then is going to be your total pension liability. This is calculated by an actuary, and this number is 44.3 million. So then we take the net of those to tell us at the end of the day, what is your net pension liability outstanding? So for the end of 2024, it was down just slightly from the previous fiscal year and sat at 15 million.
And it went up between 22 and 23. Was that because of market losses?
Correct. So if you look at the teal bars there between 2022 and 2023, you'll see that the asset value did decrease. And then you can see kind of in 2024, it increased just slightly, which is causing that change. The next page then relates to the healthcare portion of long-term obligations. So we call this OPEB. So this is where you are offering some type of health insurance benefit to certain retiree groups. So similar information here. The teal is your fiduciary net position. That's only 4.2 million. So you'll notice right away the dollars aren't quite as high as they are on the pension side. And then we have the total OPEB liability is 11.3 million, giving us a net OPEB liability of about 7.1 million. And I did want to point out for you, because 2020 looks a little different on the liability and net liability side than the other years. What happened is in the 2021 valuation, there were several changes to the assumptions that the actuary used, which brought down that total OPEB liability. So it's not uncommon for there to be a change in assumptions, and especially as these plans were having to start show up on your financial statements, we did see some larger fluctuations in other clients as well, kind of in those beginning years.
So 2020 is not an error in calculation. It was hyper-conservative assumptions?
Yeah, so we would call that a change in estimate.
The OPEB is like at 35% right now, correct? How do you think? Do you think that's in good position, or do you think it should be higher than this one, in your opinion?
Well, I don't have a specific opinion on this. Traditionally, within governments, the OPEB liability isn't funded as much as the pension liability because emphasis wasn't placed as early on funding that. And so the level that you are funded right now is relatively consistent with a lot of our client base. The state has placed significance on increasing those funding percentages. And then within your individual township, you have to make decisions within the budget ramifications that you have, how much additional maybe you can set aside to fund this.
So this is essentially employees who have a lifetime guarantee of paid insurance for health. We've stopped that for new hires.
Your plan is closed.
It's
correct?
closed, in other words.
Yes.
So, and we also have been funding, we had extra funding, 250,000 every year. We did that again this year.
Yeah.
So to buy it down some. So we went from, I think we were 0% funded.
Started at zero.
We started,
Yeah, we started at zero, and so we made significant improvements over the last 7 years.
It'll probably be flat for a while.
Yeah.
I don't think in 2026, I don't think we're scheduled to put any money in. We'll have to check.
Well, we get to decide that, I guess.
Well, based on the plan that we had, did not show money beyond 2025 in lump sum, but we'll check it. Any comments from the board on these slides?
Do you want me to cover the last couple?
Go ahead.
All right, sorry, all right.
No worries. You're like, get the auditor out of here. but this is good news. This is a great slide, probably my favorite slide, is that we made it through the audit and your team made it through the audit with no significant findings. So no material weakness, significant deficiency, and this year, not even any written management comments. We always have some verbal suggestions that we talk about throughout the process, but this is a testament to the effort that is put in and the importance that you all place on having reliable financial information during the year. Also shows at year end because of how well prepared they are. They know the rules and they're following them.
Yeah, we do the bank recs every month religiously and, prepare for the audit throughout the year.
And I think we need to acknowledge Carol Rashan, who's kind of stepped up because we no longer have our finance director, and she just keeps the ball rolling and keeps doing what needs to be done, and she's efficient and effective.
She is. Yes, we really appreciate Carol. She's excellent.
And the entire team, both in Treasury and in the clerk's department and the finance, work hand in hand in making sure that there's always a balance going on in the process. We're always doing checks and balances, and we work together as a team. So Bob, thank you for the work of your team. And of course, I want to thank Carol and our former director too was significant in making this happen, and also Mary Ann. So, but it's a team effort, and really when the trustees come in and check the bills, that's part of the process too. So it's a whole board and team effort, and we run a very tight ship here, and it's the public can rest assured that we're doing a good job as a board, and also the employees are hand in hand in that.
Good stewards of the public money.
Yep.
Thank you for your comments. The last page here, if you want to change the slide, just covers some important aspects of what we call the governance letter. You can find the full letter within the materials that are in front of you. But I just wanted to point out a few aspects of this that we consider to be the most important. So the first being when there are adoptions of new GASB statements. GASB is the rule-setting authority that your township has to follow. So this year, there were 2 new GASBs. Only one had really a major significance, I would say, that was related to recording the compensated absence liability, which is probably not something you all look at or think about maybe ever. It's not really something that's crucial to your daily operations, but we did help the township adopt that. There are some significant estimates within the financial statements, so you should be aware of what those are and realize that some numbers, are not hard and fast numbers. There is estimation in there. So things like your depreciation related to capital assets, which can impact the operating expense then that's recorded in your water and sewer fund. The net pension and the OPEB liabilities are those total liabilities are calculated by actuaries based on assumptions that can and do change, and then the compensated absences that I previously mentioned. We also include in there significant risks. These are risks from an audit planning perspective. So the audit standards require management override of controls and improper revenue recognition to be risks within the majority of audits. So you have those, and then due to the new standard adoption this year for compensated absences, we had a third. If your list within that letter is really lengthy, sometimes that's indicative of issues, or we think there are going to be issues. So I've been trying to inform boards, that's something important to look at, whether you're on this board or another board, how long that list of significant risks is, and understanding why it might be lengthy. Yours is not an uncommon list. There are also a couple of uncorrected misstatements included in that letter. Sometimes there are accounting rules that to fully implement them becomes cumbersome and just places additional administrative duties that maybe aren't necessary. And so given materiality, you can choose to not implement certain parts of the GASB. So when it comes to leases, the township has chose to not gross up the balance sheets essentially by recording right-of-use assets and lease liabilities and just continuing to account for those leases as you go making your traditional payments. And then within that letter, we also talk about upcoming standards. I would say at this point for next year, there's nothing that's overly significant, but I do like you to know that there are some out there and just to be aware of those. And with that, if you have additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
One thing I'd like to point out and underscore is that last year we spent $470,000 more than we took in, which caused a decrease to the fund balance. It's not a crisis, but it obviously can't continue indefinitely, otherwise we'll spend ourselves out of money. So we have to be aware of that.
Was there a specific reason? I mean, can you point to what caused that 470,000 additional over and above? Was there some major something?
Well,
that-
there were new police and
Capital
fire
improvement.
contracts.
Okay,
Labor contracts,
okay.
pay increases.
And some equipment.
Yeah, it's in the management letter,
Okay.
Let's turn to the page.
yeah. No, I'm gonna try to remember where it goes.
Maybe Ally can direct us to it.
Under the, I think it's on page 2-5.
Yes, the second paragraph from the bottom there lists out several different spending
Yeah,
categories.
we needed that new sand server, that's storage. The previous one went end of life because the vendor disappeared from the marketplace and it wasn't being supported. We had some election expenses, wages, seasonal workers, new contracts, payout for retirements.
The largest single number was payout for retirements out of everything.
Yeah,
$133,000.
Something like that, yeah,
New radios.
Those will be reimbursed.
with a grant.
There's a grant. Chief Nytel, police radios, $175,000. That, I think, is reimbursed. What is the name of there's no grant, or help me out?
Fire was,
Fire had the grant, okay.
police was not, although we tried.
$180,000 for a new fire station study. So, all right, we understand that a little bit. If you look at property taxes went up about 20%, $2 million over the 5-year period. But public safety spending was double that over the same 5-year period.
yeah. Public safety went from 10.7 million in 2020 to 14.6 million in 2024.
And I might want to point out that, that's, a lot of that is inflation. The cost of doing business really went up over the certain past 4 years, where you had property taxes went up, probably 20% over that period, and that was mostly inflationary. As everyone knows, in the state of Michigan, we have Prop A, and then the property taxes can go up to 5%, are capped. Well, for about 3 years, they went up 5%, and that was all due to inflation. So the large portion of both those costs are really inflationary costs.
Yeah, well, property tax revenues went up, but not at the pace, expenditures outpaced the revenue side of it,
At double the rate.
not quite double, but,
20% versus almost 40% for spending on public safety.
yeah, on public safety.
But inflation drives cost of contracts and equipment, so.
Well, I would say also from a recruiting standpoint, the challenges that we have is we are competing with pension systems.
Sure.
We don't have a pension system here, but that is our competition when we're trying to get the best and the brightest here.
Are you ready for a motion?
I have one other question. I'm trying to find it. When you were speaking about the pension, you referred to a 2.8 multiplier for the police department and a 2.8 multiplier for the fire department. And it's my understanding that the fire department's multiplier is 2.5. So
It says 2.8 in here though, right?
it says 2.8 in here, so I just wanted to
That may
clarify.
need to be updated then, if there was a change.
Well, what
don't
it
think there's a
really
change.
is that they increased the PD and they did not increase fire, I believe. But I just noted in here that they both say 2.8, and I'm quite certain that's not the case.
Okay.
So this is page 3-31. 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph.
Thanks,
No,
Chuck.
fifth paragraph from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
Retirement benefits for fire union employees are calculated at 2.8.
yeah.
So we need to confirm what the correct number is.
Yeah.
Who's got that assignment?
It should be in the union contract. I'll look it up if you want me
Oh.
to.
Well, what is the source of your data,
Yeah.
Ally?
Is he out there or is he coming
No, he's
back?
not here. He had,
I
He's
would
over
have
there
to
with-
see if this is in the actuary report or not.
when is the next actuary report planned?
It would be for 12/31/25.
So it'll be about this time next year that we would get that. 2026, 6 months into 2026, we'd get year-end 2025 calculation.
You probably get it sooner, yeah, internally.
All right, so we need to check that. Because that's a big difference between 2.5 and 2.8.
It is. And I'm sure the fire department would love to hear that theirs is 2.8, but I don't believe it is.
And when it comes to pension calculations, defined benefit, which is similar to a 401K, we had MERS, who was a fiduciary, do a calculation which was very conservative and did not reflect total wages for, police wages level out at about $100,000 after 4 years, and then they get the regular increases. So we assumed only starting at $63,000 and getting 3% raises per year, and at a 7% return, you'd have 1.3 million after 25 years and being 50 years old. So that number will be bigger when we roll in a more accurate representation of wages and wage growth. So what we're doing is we're using, when you look at this graph and you say, wow, I'm going to have 1.3 or 1.5 to $2 million after 25 years that I own, that helps with the recruiting. Because there is a trend in Southeast Michigan being induced also sometimes by fiduciaries to convert people to defined benefit. We're not going to do that in Plymouth Township because you look at these liabilities and you look at our surrounding communities, they're taking on huge long-term liabilities in Canton and Livonia in particular. Northville Township has them also, but we need to somehow figure out how to convince people that controlling your own money and owning it in your family for the rest of your life
It's better.
versus dying early and they get very little in payout if you die early. So, plus at 50 years old, you got probably at least 10 more years you could work at another job.
And they do.
So you could end up with quite a nice nest egg. And so maybe the academies, we can help the academies do some of that training, because I think they tend to train on defined benefit in the academy, which in my judgment is they probably shouldn't say anything about pensions and benefits, but anyway.
Chief wants to say something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chuck, if I could just add, education is a huge piece of that. I sat on the pension board for Farmington Hills for 11 years. Asking a 23-year-old to make decisions on investing money, I think is asking a lot. So I think education is a very important piece so that they understand the implications of investing early and what to invest in and things like that. Because I know for a fact that cities and townships spend millions and millions of dollars getting recommendations on investments, and these kids are 23 years old and they're making decisions. So I think the education is very, very important.
Right, I agree with you, and MERS says that they're going to start some education program where they're going to offer more, not just these things where they show up once every 6 months. It's going to be something more custom tailored to each individual. Not, companies like Fidelity and Schwab do that, but they charge a fee.
Right.
They are not planning to charge a fee at MERS. So it'll be an interesting experiment, but it's, being 23 years old and learning about investment can be a challenge for some people, but I think that it will change as our schools provide, hopefully, some better education on personal finance, which has been neglected for a long time in our schools.
Absolutely.
You ready for a motion?
Do we have any more, do we have any questions from the
I'm sorry.
audience? Because we allow
That's
you to
right.
ask questions on the agenda item. Yeah, you got to come up here, please.
Just a quick question. I'm Dale Bernhardt. For the last 5 years, for the water and sewer, the revenue was greater than expenses. Where does that extra revenue go?
Into the fund.
Fund balance?
To the general fund?
Long-term capital project.
No, it's a separate
So-
fund.
It's a separate fund.
It's a separate fund. So
Can't
there's
use it for police or fire.
Okay, so there's never been a thought of giving some of that back to the recipients because they've been paying more than
We've
it
already
actually
done that
costs them?
indirectly because we have, some years, not given a water increase, water rate and sewer increase.
You
So
gotta save
we've
for
levied
me.
those out. We've leveled some of those out and haven't passed on the full impact from Great Lakes Water Authority or Watua. So we have, I think in the last 5 years, we might have had 2 where we didn't increase.
Couple.
2 or 3, and there were small ones. There was no year that we passed on the entire increase from Great Lakes Water.
So
It
you're
was
kind
the
of
first
setting
year-
up a
the
rainy
fir-
day fund then, when you're going to need it, you've got it
To
held
replace-
off to the side?
Water mains break, they get old, meters need to be replaced. You gotta have money set aside for long-term capital projects, and that's why you have a water and sewer fund.
So past history suggests that we use that money then, right?
Of course,
Okay.
But like the proposal to have smart meters is 5 to 7 million.
but we still gotta spend 4 million if we have dumb meters.
Which is what we're using now, which are manual reads.
Okay, answers the question. Thank you.
Just a little trivia about the water rates. I can remember Bob was here, and Chuck were here. They used to lower the rates just before the election and raise them after, years ago.
That was
Do you
done
remember that?
once.
2016.
Yeah,
Pardon?
2016. 2016
Yep.
was the last time it was done. Any other questions from the board or the audience? All right, Sandy.
Okay, I move that the Plymouth Township Board of Trustees hereby adopt Resolution 2025-06, 2023-10-46, approving the audit of 2024 fiscal year financial statements, reports, and letters of required communication, and follow-up recommendations to be filed with the state of Michigan by EO and EO, and to acknowledge the receipt and filing of the previously stated.
Yo and yo,
Yeah.
Well, it's YEO, so.
not yo, it's yo.
Second by, roll call. Clerk Forba, yes. Trustee Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Grove.
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ally and Yo, for doing this for us. Hopefully the check is in the mail soon.
I think we just processed it.
All right, so now we have public comments on non-agenda items. Nobody? All right, so, board comments. Bob, go ahead.
I'm good.
All right. Jen?
Yeah, I just was noticing here, policing in the community, May 2025, that there was a first responder memorial event. I didn't get any information on that. In the past, that was sent to us via email, invited. Were you there?
No, I was not there.
Okay. Is there a way for us to get that level of communication? I mean, that's something very
Okay, we can
important
do
to
that.
me as a
The police
officer
department
as
can do
well.
it, and I can do it.
Yeah, yeah, I would really
fact,
appreciate that. I feel very heartbroken that I missed that. I'm sorry, Chief. I was there at the last one and did not have that information. I'm sorry.
When was it?
May 21.
May 21. So,
Yeah, I can certainly let the board know when that comes to my attention. I was under the impression that the information was pushed out, but apparently not.
I check my email at least 3-4 times a day, so I didn't see anything. Anything else from me? Can't think of anything, so I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good as well.
I just have a few questions. I noticed that we pay $75 to Schoolcraft to sponsor something. Does anybody know what we were sponsoring?
You have to show me.
Okay, it's just on the list of bills. I also,
Schoolcraft.
I know that I have asked this before, but I'm still confused on this. The East Lawn Road reconstruction, I see that we're paying Spalding DeDecker $26,328.50. Please help me again to understand who's paying for that road reconstruction. It was my understanding the township's paying for the larger water main, but that the developer was paying for all of the road construction, everything that had to do with that, and it was coming out of brownfield monies. So can somebody explain it to me?
It's very complex. I don't have a flow chart of it. I want to make one. No one's been able to make one yet that works,
Okay,
but the DDA is involved in that.
okay,
In fact, a $500,000 check is going out next week to pay for the Spine Road. That's what's owed the developer, and they're paid in 5 payments, right, Bob, I think?
Yeah.
500,000 coming from the DDA fund.
so we're paying the developer, is that what you're
Well,
saying?
the developer paid, and then we're reimbursing him, and then the money is coming back over 20-plus years
Yeah,
in the
I-
form of tax increment, which is the value of the property today, let's say it's 0, and then now once it's developed, that delta over time will pay back the funds for East Lawn. You know, I was opposed to the East Lawn deal. I thought it was a little too complex and quite an overreach. But now we have it, so it's an
I just wanna
accounting
understand.
management. But there is some taxpayer money that probably went into it
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a clarification on that. And I also noticed that we're paying $6,300 to Superior Excavating for a specific address on Sycamore Valley and also Plymouth Hollow for $92.39. Can somebody tell me what those?
Water main breaks.
Water main breaks, okay.
Superior has a contract that does our large emergency jobs.
Okay, and then I'd like to ask Chief Nytel, actually, I noticed that we paid, it says Miracle League baseball game, we paid $722.44. Do you know what we were paying for there?
I don't have the information in front of me.
Okay,
That was last weekend.
That was
It
last
was the
Saturday.
event.
All of our employees that were there were volunteer employees.
right, that's,
We did have giveaways for the kids, which included, but
I think it was giveaways,
I don't know if it was,
and there may be some.
the only expense we had was from a community outreach. We also had T-shirts for all the volunteers. That might be it, but I don't have it in front of me. I can
I'm just curious to know when we do something like that, because Assistant Chief Kudra stood up and talked about, you know, the things that we're doing and with Miracle League. I just want to know who's spending money and for what, and if it's something that is in line with whatever the standard procedure is supposed to be. When I see something like that, it's abnormal to me, so I just kind of want a clarification on how that's being done. And then I did notice that we're paying to lease tasers, and I didn't know we leased tasers. Is this $7,600 an annual charge? Should we just pay that once a year?
Yes, through the forfeiture fund, I believe. I don't have it
Okay.
in front of me, but yes.
What was the name of the supplier? Do you remember?
For the
Taser.
tasers? I don't remember, I didn't write it down, but I can look for it for you. I think the other question is about the Granicus LLC, the annual FOIA module.
Yes,
What is that?
that's.
What was the
that's
term
just-
you- that's-
it's
what's the name of the
Gran-
company?
Yeah, Granicus. It's a new
Granicus.
name. It used to be called something else, I can't remember. They changed their name a couple years ago. It caught me when I came through
Yeah.
originally. But we pay for that module that causes the whole thing to work, from when people go online and then it comes to us, to the police department. It manages that whole system.
And it takes care of the clerk's FOIAs
Yes,
as well as the
as the
police
police, right.
departments? Okay, I'm sorry to ask so many questions, but I just
Oh, we got plenty of
noticed
time.
on these bills, I didn't understand all of that, so I was curious to know. And I noticed also that we pay, Hilltop, we pay $1,500 weekly for mowing and whipping. Is that the way it's always been, that we pay
That's
for the grounds?
Gulfview Park.
That's for the park. They go over and mow.
Okay,
Yeah. They do it for us as opposed to us hiring our people to do it or
Okay.
hiring it out.
okay, those are all the questions I have for now.
Although
no,
we're
I do
hoping
have
that
one
will
more.
go, you know what, I'm gonna check on the weekly, because now that we're not fertilizing, it probably isn't needed every week, so we'll check into that.
And my other question was about FOIA. I noted on the reports that there are a few where the police department charged. I noticed there are no charges, and it's been this way for the clerk's office, and I know we used to have charges for everything, so I'm just curious to know what
Yeah,
changed.
whenever it's necessary, we do charge.
Okay, and how do you determine necessary?
You talking about credit card?
FOIA,
No,
just
no,
FOIA requests.
Credit card,
No,
okay, yeah.
so when the labor becomes too intensive or the material necessary, if we have to get like a hard drive or something like that, what we do is we encourage people, give us a new hard drive and then we won't have to buy one and charge you for it. So if the work is not too extensive, then we don't
Okay.
charge. And we've done that historically. It's just that when it gets a lot of hours, then we charge.
Okay, I was just curious, because I know we used to charge
Sure.
something for everything, so I didn't know how that worked. I'm done asking questions.
So since we're on the subject of FOIA, why do our employees have to request a FOIA for example, a police report?
Why do
I
they?
think-
Why
I
do
think-
we have that policy
I think
requirement?
it's just a matter of managing it. So I can say, oh, I asked you for something, you never gave it to me. So I can track that you asked and I gave. If you came to me and says, oh, I want this, and then you say, hey, Jerry, I never got it. It's a tracking mechanism.
Okay, because we had a need to get a police report
Yeah,
for the park,
yeah,
and the park foreman was required to do a FOIA.
yeah. It's just for tracking,
All right. I understand that.
because they weren't being charged. It was just
No.
it's just a matter of tracking.
All right, I have a couple of things.
I had just one.
Oh, go ahead.
No, just, thank you. I think we have a couple of more vacancies coming up on the environmental commission, I think.
Well, the way it works is the people that are on there carry over
Okay,
until someone is reappointed in their place, appointed in their place, or they're asked to resign.
okay,
And that's what I sent an email to Mary Ann McLaren
okay,
and told her that.
okay,
So it's automatic, you just continue?
Right.
okay,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. That's
So
all I have.
we've appointed 2 people to the Environmental Commission in the last 6 weeks,
Yes,
the most recent one today,
yes.
which Sarah Wiesel has resigned
Okay,
June 1.
okay then.
So that's part of the reason.
Resign from that commission?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of you are probably wondering, Canton did not have a meeting tonight. It was canceled. Their supervisor was out of town. They originally had planned it, and I noticed there was no pipeline on there, but they canceled the meeting. Photos. Did everybody get their vote of what headshot they wanted into Sheila Acker? If you haven't, go ahead and do it so that we'll use those to post. I think,
What you putting them on, like
pardon?
the website or something?
Yeah, it'll be on the
one of
website.
those.
You may not have replied, I'm not certain.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
So
I'm sorry.
check.
Yeah. Yeah,
She's out, so you got this week to do it or whatever?
But they all look the same.
Yeah, I know, they do. Yeah, they all look
Always
the same.
different.
It's pretty hard to, unless you're a real photo genius, it's hard to tell.
I just try to find one that doesn't make me look like a total dork. And I underscore the word total.
Marijuana, Kevin, we have the marijuana person that wants to speak on the 24th. And what I'm requesting from you is to give us a little summary on, you don't have to do it now, you can do it in writing, of when we opted out, what the basic law is or whatever, because some people, this person may think that because they're the first one talking, if we ever changed it, then they would be in. It doesn't work that way. So I don't quite understand whether it's a marketing thing on his part or, I'm opposed to having him speak, but some of you want him to speak hoping he goes away. I predict he won't go away, since there's a reasonable profit motive. I think John thinks it's okay that he should come. I think, Sandy, you do
I
too?
don't think it's okay that he should come. I wanted to give him the opportunity because that's what he kept asking for. But I did send an email to him and communicated with him that we are an opt-out community and that whatever we do with him, it has to be consistent with how we handle all of these type of requests. And I told him that we would be looking to our legal counsel for an answer on how we wanted to move forward or not move forward with it.
Because I know at one time we did have a company make a presentation before.
Yes.
Yeah,
But that was before the opt-out law
Right.
went into effect, which was a statewide referendum.
Right.
And there was a
They wanted to
group-
locate in a building
Yeah.
off a general drive somewhere.
So if,
There was a group that wanted to locate at, what's that nursery on Joy Road? Not Spars, but the other one.
Grays?
Yeah. A grower wanted to locate there a couple years ago.
so maybe Kevin, you can tell us, if you've had time to look into it, whether we should be actually even hosting a presentation.
The only issue I would see with that is if you hear from one person and another marijuana entrepreneur wants to give a presentation, you don't want to run into equal protection issues by allowing one company to speak and denying another company the right to speak.
That's why, in an email response to this person today, I said that I was not giving him permission, and I was still generating backup. And he wrote back some flippant answer about, I don't know, that I didn't respond to, essentially implying like, hurry up, when.
But it makes sense in light of the fact that we are an opt-out community, that we just not hear those requests because it's not something we're going to consider
Yeah, I think
anyway.
it's starting a precedence by
The board
allowing
would
this
be the
guy
only entity that could change the opt-out provision.
capitulating to his.
I'm sorry, say that again?
The board is the only entity that could change the opt-out to an opt-in.
Or by referendum of the voters.
Exactly.
Don't give people ideas.
They can.
They can do that. I think City of Plymouth almost did it last November.
I don't know if a township can do referendums.
Oh, okay, so you told me that before, that's right. Maybe we are not subject to that.
So then it's a moot point. It's just a waste of time.
And
Kind of, yeah. That's
And
why
I'm willing
I've been
to-
dragging
We're
I've been
appeasing the man,
dragging
and
my feet.
We don't have time for that. My son's home from the Marines. I'd like to get home and see him, and same could happen that evening as well.
Well, the bottom line is, my position was, let's just accommodate it so we don't have this every meeting, but if what Kevin said is a fact, I don't have a problem with withdrawing my request to allow a presentation, because we don't need to hear something that we're not going to consider.
And he's certainly given us plenty of information in his packets and at the podium, at the beginning, at the end, and
So my feeling is, don't invite it. But that's why I've been dragging my feet, and I'm going to continue to do that until I hear otherwise.
I support that.
So he'll probably be disappointed or whatever, but
do we need to take a vote on that? Like,
I don't think so,
make this official? No.
no. So I'm going to hold off on that indefinitely.
Can I make a comment for a
Yeah.
second? On this issue, I've been quiet. I certainly have, I ran a DEA task force for 11 years. I have a lot of experience in the area. I would certainly, some have asked me, I've provided information. The Rocky Mountain HIDA, high-intensity drug trafficking area, has information on, now marijuana is legal in this state, and that's fine, but there are impacts that the state of Colorado had, as well as the state of California, and there's plenty of documentation on that too. So I would, certainly be willing to talk to anybody about the issue and that, but I've been staying out of it because, again, it is illegal. It is illegal in this state, so.
We received, I know I did, I think it was probably community-wide, an advertisement from a
Wayne-based.
Wayne-based, it was quite slick, and it took me a second to figure out what it was until I saw the backside, and then I figured out what it was. But a lot of these places, they do it, you can do it online. I don't know how it's done, because I read on that flyer, it's a really slick flyer on, it was.
Yeah, almost every house got it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was legal to purchase marijuana mail order.
Boy,
Yeah, I've seen
I-
ads. I don't know how it works.
I don't know, is
but-
it, Chief? I don't know. I mean, it seemed like you could order it by his, I got the flyer.
You can buy wine through the mail.
Only from Michigan companies?
It used to be that way, but I
They
think you can
changed
buy
it
it out
now?
of state now.
Yeah. So I just don't know, so. if
All
they
right,
can
I'm gonna
get
hold the
that-
line on that and not cave in to the
You're
hometown
going to let
Plymouth
him
boy.
know that we're not going to put him on the agenda?
Yes, I
Okay.
will. One other item is lawsuits. We've had another lawsuit settled, which was not settled, dismissed, and it had to do with some people who were hunting illegally, and they were ticketed, and there was some conflict between the DNR saying it was okay to hunt and our ordinance saying it wasn't, and some other complications. Maybe we will be talking, Kevin, we may need to make some modification to our ordinances because in this lawsuit, there was a conflict between the no hunting
Use of guns.
and the use of weapons, right? They were duck hunting, and they were completely, they got permission from the property owner. They also got clarification from the Department of Natural Resources, but then they got picked up by our police department. And then they alleged that it was a violation of their rights.
Can I clarify that?
Yeah.
They were not picked up by the police department. We got called on an active shooter in our trailer park. People in the trailer park were laying on the ground because they thought there was an active shooter. We had schools in lockdown during this incident. So that was the initiation of the call. The people that were hunting were walked out of the wooded area. We conducted an investigation on the scene. Nobody was arrested. Nobody was taken anywhere. And we documented the entire incident. Then we turned it over to Kevin. So that was, Kevin and I have had a lot of conversations about the, this issue with the hunting or the shooting and what's, and I certainly think DNR had a different opinion or so that, and that was, I think, the issue. Kevin, is that accurate?
The DNR agent who told them it was okay to hunt there testified at that hearing, and he testified that he did believe that it was okay to duck hunt in there because of the DNR regs. After the DNR regs were enacted and with the approval of the township, there was apparently another ordinance adopted that precluded the discharge of firearms and hunting within the township. As a general rule, although we couldn't find out the exact ordinance in this case, as a general rule, every ordinance I or my predecessor have ever drafted contains a repealer clause, which means that inconsistent ordinances are repealed.
But this didn't have a repealer clause?
I'm not saying that. I don't
Okay,
think
so
we
we
could
just
find
don't
it.
know.
Yeah, but as a rule, the repealer is along with severability and publication and effective date. The boilerplate in every ordinance is included, which would mean a repeal of that law. And the DNR guy, when I cross-examined him, I said, well, did you know about this Plymouth Township ordinance? He said, no, I didn't. So if he came back to you again next week, what would you tell him? He goes, I would tell him, don't hunt there.
Maybe that's why it was dismissed.
Yeah.
But question is, do we need to do something with our ordinances, or you don't know yet?
That would be a matter of dotting i's and crossing t's. We can do that.
Well, they allege we violated their First Amendment rights or something.
Fourth.
Even though they weren't arrested.
Yeah. He said they were detained and,
Somebody's firing guns, you're gonna get detained.
Okay. Meyer has started construction. And
What about Amazon Fresh?
I don't think
going
that's
on
going
with
to
that?
happen. The building is for lease now. I see the signs up in the windows.
Oh, wow.
Didn't notice that yet.
But yesterday, there were signs in the windows that weren't there before that it's a leasing agent, Colliers, or says for lease. Who knows? It could be a decoy event. I don't know. But
Why would they do that?
chase away the competition or something. So I don't think Amazon Fresh is coming in anytime soon.
I think they're moving on.
Different business model.
Yeah.
In August, the plan is to start construction of a 720,000 square foot building, which is the biggest building built in Plymouth Township, probably since Ford built their building in 1967.
on Sheldon Road.
This plant, or this building, speculative, will be in the MITC near Napier and 5 Mile.
The Jones Building?
Jones, yes. So hopefully it's not a warehouse, but Amazon and FedEx are big customers of Jones.
They're a middleman, a distribution company?
What, Jones?
Yeah.
No, Jones is the construction.
Right.
Well, they're not a construction company. They're the developer, the builder and the owner.
Is it a spec?
Yes.
Oh, it's
Spec for now.
Because they're not saying.
Yeah.
Also, they say, once you get some foundations in and some walls up, your opportunities for leasing go up, because there's
something there.
something there, exactly. So we're going to be building a water tank for that building, 500,000 gallon water tank at the ground level.
That's an example of the use of water and sewer funds.
Yes. Some of it will be paid back by TIF, Right.
Yeah.
In fact, almost all of it, we hope. But the tank is bigger than was planned when the contract was signed back in 2022, so we will have a gap of maybe 1.5 million out of pocket for us. It will be built by Jones, and we're managing the bids to ensure that we're getting value for the money. And this, the primary reason it's being built is fire protection to run sprinklers, and also there will be benefit to others in the area, and it.
Water pressure.
Directionally, some water pressure. Improvements in the west, but not where you live, but like in the trailer park area.
Yeah, we don't have problems anymore with water pressure. We used to, but when this tank near Home Depot went up, that pretty much stabilized the pressure on the west side of the township.
Yeah, so that's an example of an investment. We have 2 water towers. Now we're going to have 3. All right, any other questions, comments?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's go.